Why don't we go ahead and get started? So again, this is the mayor's forum. Usually we have featured speakers. Tonight we have with us RJ Suko, who is head of our Public Works Department. And let me know if I get this stuff wrong. And we also have Jamie King, who is the Assistant Superintendent in Public Works. Before I get to them with some questions, I like to ask them questions just to kind of kick it off. So why don't each of you, if you can tell me or tell everybody kind of like how you guys got started in your careers and kind of the path that kind of led you to Corte Madera. Maybe RJ, if you want to kick it off. And this can just be like a brief thing. We're not looking for, no offense, the 20-minute whole thing. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mayor Casisa. So I originally grew up in Southern California in San Diego. Always had an interest in building, designing things as a little kid. And so my folks kind of pushed me in the direction of engineering, and went to the University of California, Davis, and really enjoyed it. And kind of just gravitated to the Bay Area and San Francisco out of college. Spent a couple years in private consulting, and then took a job with County of Marin in the engineering department, spent 10 years there, and then started with Town of Corte Madera in 2018. And yeah, just been kind of working on a full wide variety of different types of infrastructure projects, and have really enjoyed kind of the breadth of the field, and like working with people, like solving problems. And yeah, I've really enjoyed my time working here for Corte Madera.
Thanks. And your team is still on site, right? Where the old city hall is, you're in the trailers in the back. So you guys did not move to the new city hall, right?
That's correct. Yeah, no, we're happy here. We've got enough space. Once, we break ground, which is, they're starting to set up all the temporary measures for that. It'll be exciting. I'm sure at times it might be a little loud with Zoom calls and stuff, but we like to be in the action, if you will.
As long as you're wearing hard hats, you're good. And then Jamie, what about you? And part of your story also, if you can tell us about the picture behind you, which is a great picture.
This is Milk Trade. So yes, thank you, Mayor. So I'm kind of like with RJ. My dad's been in construction trade. I grew up in construction trade for 30 years, commercial and residential. During the economic times of 2007, there was a downturn. So my dad kind of shut down the business, and then I got into public education. And public education has some challenges itself during that time. So it's taught me a lot. I've always enjoyed construction. One of my hobbies is, brain puzzles. So I like challenging myself continuously. I like building with my hands. I like being outdoors. So it's just kind of transitioned into public works. Again, I came from public education, and I love just working with public works outside the different challenges in public works. There's never a dull moment whether it's flood control, parks, streets, or sanitary. It's a challenging every day, and it's a great challenge.
Thanks. Not to put you on the spot, but you mentioned like building things. What's, I'll say, the biggest thing or the most intriguing thing you've built?
Well, back when we had the 89 Loma Prieta earthquake, we had a couple buildings that collapsed. So one of our biggest challenges was raising that building back up, reinforcing the structure underneath, and that was on Fillmore, down in the Marina District. And so that was probably my largest project, most challenging project. And I was just getting into the construction build at the time.
Thanks. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm kind of going to split this into two, where I'm going to start off with RJ and kind of hit upon the higher level projects that are going on in town. And then Jamie, I'm going to bring it back to you, and maybe we can talk about, the maintenance crews that go out, kind of like what they're doing, some of their challenges during the winter versus summer, calls you guys get, weeds are starting to grow and that kind of stuff. So first of all, let's go to JR. Let's start with City Hall. Fences are up. Are you expecting the wrecking ball anytime soon? Is Tamalpais going to be closed down? What's that going to look like, I'll say, in the next couple months? And what can we expect for the next 18 months, hopefully, not 2 years?
Yeah, great question. So the contractors starting to show their presence. Tamalpais Drive will not be closed at any point. we're going to have at least one vehicle lane in each direction, plus a bike lane in the uphill direction for the duration of the project. They'll be starting in about 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks on the abatement. So removing all the hazardous materials. And then once those are out, they'll do kind of the more full scale demolition of the building. And then they'll get into kind of the excavation grading and all the retaining walls and other kind of foundational work. And then over the rest of the summer, they'll start building it up and framing it and whatnot and proceeding through. Currently, they're scheduled roughly till September of 2023 is a tentative completion date. But in this COVID environment with just all the supply chain issues, I think it's realistic at some point we're going to have some sort of snag. But I think hopefully by the end of 2023, it'll be all said and done.
Okay, good. And then I noticed, I think about a month or so, there's fire trucks from different agencies there.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of explain what was going on with that? And I know there wasn't anything dangerous or anything going on, no fires or anything like that. Can you just explain kind of what the town did?
Yeah, we were just approached by Central Marin Fire Authority about getting some training in there. I don't know how often it happens, but you've got a building that's about to be demolished, and so it's an opportunity for them to get in there and work on their various trainings, and I guess taking walls down and simulating rescues and other things. So seemed like it worked. There were a lot of folks in and out from not just Central Marin Fire, but other fire authorities across the county. So I think they took advantage of it.
I think you mentioned there's a whole bunch of holes in the roof, right? Because they were working on that aspect.
There's more holes in the roof than expected and some other things. So yeah, but we're managing it. We're working through it.
All right, thanks. And then I guess another big one is a Paradise Drive street improvement project, which I think you have a workshop on that tomorrow. Can you just maybe describe what that project it is, what's going on with it, and kind of where you're at status wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're calling it the Paradise Drive Complete Streets Project. It's roughly from Westward Drive all the way to the eastern town limit, which is just east of Robin Drive. So passes right through the Ring Mountain Trailhead, the two private schools, all the way to the far end. One of the primary goals for the project that we got some funding for initially was it was a Safe Routes to School grant. So we're trying to add a shared path for, a dedicated bike and pedestrian facility. And then in addition to that, we're just trying to optimize the right of way for other users, such as folks that want to go to Ring Mountain, accommodate the schools where we can, and other folks on the east side of town that use it for, walking to central areas, of town and whatnot. So we're at a stage where we've had 2 introductory workshops in the fall. We had a special meeting with BPAC, I believe it was February. So we're getting ready to present alternatives on Wednesday. So this will be I think a pretty exciting one. A lot of the discussions before had been a lot more of, goals and expectations, what are we trying to achieve, that sort of thing. And this time around, we'll actually be able to look at some of the options. What does fit? What's a path look like if we put it on the south side? What's a path look like if we put it on the north side of the road? And, how many of these other amenities can we fit in? Can we fit, the path with parking, with queuing, with, you name it. And so I encourage everyone to attend. I don't know if we have the chat function going, but the easiest way to find the information is just Google Paradise Drive Complete Streets. It'll take you right to our town webpage, and on there's a Zoom link to the public workshop, and it's at 5:30 on Wednesday via Zoom.
For that project, are you looking at doing anything related, I want to say, to climate change, trying to raise the roadbed, and then couple that question with what challenges are you facing there? Because I heard one of them is that it's just tough because that road, the whole width is just somewhat narrow. By the time you start hitting Ring Mountain and you wind up hitting the Bayside and you have the road, it's kind of it's a challenge and difficult place to put everything everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very true. So, yeah, we do have some adaptation measures that we're going to propose. So currently we have seen some flooding and inundation during heavy rain events. And I think a lot of that is currently, I would say, more of your inland water is getting trapped by the roadway and not making it out to the bay. But given the elevations over time, there'll be more of an influence from the tides. There is an influence now. So, for instance, when you have a pipe that goes under a road, if the tide is high enough, the water can't exit as quickly as it would like. So that is what we have seen. We saw that last October, where that water from the inland side couldn't pass quick enough. So we'll be looking at that, but also we'll be raising the road, or proposing to raise the road between 1 and 2 feet to get us, kind of that, at least kind of like a 50-year ahead elevation, so that we know that the infrastructure we're investing in is going to last, plenty of time. So that is definitely one component. And then as far as the overall width, it's about an average of a 42-foot wide roadway. So a simple way to think about it is you have kind of 4 lanes to do various things. And so, we know we're going to want to dedicate 2 of those to vehicles. And then really one of the primary purposes of the project was this shared path. So you're going to give another one to that. And so that leaves you kind of with one more area of, say roughly 10 feet to do something. And whether that's parking, whether that's queuing, whether that's, we have to fold in some, what we call bioretention facilities. It's a requirement to kind of treat water that lands on the road before it enters, say the marsh or the bay. And then we've got some utility pools. So we have to fit a lot of things in that, 42-foot width. And so something's going to give, and that's really where these alternatives come into play. That's where the public input really comes into play. And we try to do as much as we can with the amount of road width or corridor width that we have.
Okay. And then what's the timeline on that? So you've already done a couple community meetings. You have another workshop tomorrow. Is there a decision? Is that going to go to BPAC next? And then after that, it'll go to council? Are we looking at like 6 months? Again, I'm not going to hold you to it because I know everything is always subject to change, but just rough time frame and what we can expect coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of that depends on the feedback that we receive on Wednesday. If we think we have a strong kind of consensus, then that helps the process move forward. If we think we have more of a split decision, then we've got to potentially fold in another engagement event. But I think if realistically, it could be that we get some good feedback on Wednesday. Potentially we go to BPAC for some kind of formal concurrence through that advisory committee. And then while this is going on, we're also probably pushing the environmental phase forward and kind of understanding the environmental impacts and going through the CEQA process. And then before too long, we'll go to council to discuss kind of the various alternatives and how they relate to CEQA and eventually, go through that process and approve that environmental document. Okay. And so that would kind of establish really the conceptual design of the project. And that could happen, I would say, likely at some point between now and fall of this year. And meanwhile, we purposely haven't come to council to ask for construction funds yet, because I think this project does check a lot of boxes and has, I think, a good chance of getting grant funds. And so we are going to pursue some grants here this spring in hopes that we get some and can fund that phase.
Okay, thanks. And again, I believe in just morphing in. If you say something, I'm just going to go kind of that direction. Can you just kind of explain, because you're very good at getting grant money for different projects. Mm-hmm. Can you just maybe explain a couple of some of the, maybe 2 or 3 of the projects you've been able to get grant money for and how that helps? It's pretty obvious, but how it helps the town out?
Yeah. You know, we're fortunate that we do have some, you know, local resources with funding, but some of these larger projects, you know, it's not that common for, say, large scale sidewalks or, you know, shared paths and whatnot to be funded locally. You often, you know, most agencies do have to rely on some element of grant funds. And, you know, it's a lot of the local funding in most places is really just to kind of keep the road condition where it is and just kind of do smaller level projects to kind of maintain and rehab roads and other infrastructure. And the grants are really what push it forward and get you to like build these more complete streets type projects. And because this one, you know, has the adaptation component, has the bike ped component. It's a regional project, right? It serves not just Corte Madera, it serves unincorporated County Marin, it serves Tiburon. You know, it's a critical evacuation route for anyone who lives on that side of the area who needs to get to 101. And so without it, and if it continues to get inundated regularly by any sort of flooding, you know, there is a downside. So I think those are all good arguments for grants. And I think it should compete well for that reason. You know, the multi-jurisdictional benefits, the multiple components that it touches on. And so, yeah, we'll probably make it one of the premier applications as there's several grant opportunities coming up here in the next couple of months.
Okay. Is that pretty much through the state of California, not through Marin County, right? The grant money is usually through the state or regional agencies?
There's one Bay Area grant. So we call it OBAG, but Cycle 3 is coming up. And that's one that I think, you know, we're definitely going to put a strong effort for in that application and kind of push that one to the front. We have some other projects that we're pushing for different pots of money. So it kind of depends. Yeah, the type of project, you try to fit products you have in your quiver and try to get them to match up and fund. So, you know, each call, we call them call for projects, has a different criteria and how they score it. And so we'll kind of try to match them up based on what's in our quiver.
Okay, thanks. And then I think yesterday you released another project coming up about sidewalk improvements.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that project? And it seems like it's, I want to say new because, again, I think it just came out yesterday on our website, on the town's website. And Susie's like going, yay. Yeah, clapping her hands.
Yeah, thank you, Susie. Susie's one of our neighborhood volunteers. And hopefully everything's going smooth with Dimitri and Chris and everyone. As far as I've heard, it is. But yeah, this is our first kind of neighborhood project that we've rolled out as part of the Sidewalk pilot program. So I'm only aware of two other agencies that have this kind of sidewalk pilot program. There's Santa Fe and there's San Mateo. I'm not saying there aren't others, but it's really a systematic approach to improving sidewalks in our jurisdiction. Our municipal code puts the responsibility of maintaining soft sidewalks in a safe condition on the fronting property owner, which, you know, for our residents can often be a challenge, you know, financially and other. And so this overall program has the 4 strategies to really help them out. There's kind of an individual application option. There's this neighborhood option, which we're kind of pooling resources to get one contractor to kind of serve a whole neighborhood. We've got a concrete grinding or shaving program where our team is kind of picking off major streets and grinding down anything that we can that's, you know, really less than 1.5 inches. And kind of we've already, you know, tackled Tamalpais and several of the streets that we recently paved to kind of get those complete. And then I think I'm forgetting one other strategy, but yeah, it's the first of many, but the first neighborhood project, and hopefully it goes smooth and we can continue that through the rest of town. The goal is by the end of, we've split the town into 10 zones. So by the end of a decade, everyone in town will have had a chance to participate in one of these neighborhood group projects.
So is there information on those projects on the website? And then if I want to, say in front of my house, there's a sidewalk problem, how do I reach out? Who do I reach out to saying, how does it get fixed? It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's less than an inch or so, that the town would do something like that, but just say it's more of a foot because of a tree root type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give this a test. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share screen here. So I just see Google Corte Madera Sidewalk Pilot Program. Here we've got our link to our town webpage. So here it really breaks down those strategies I was talking about, right? So this first one is the sidewalk grinding. So really that's, I would say, more of one that staff is operating, maintaining, and we're kind of going systematically through heavier traveled corridors like Tamalpais, like Tamil Vista, and others, but eventually we'll work our way around to other places. This is that second one. This is the individual one. So yeah, anyone who has any repair in front of their house, if they want to kind of lead the effort, we will reimburse them through this strategy. So you can hire your own contractor. We'll pay up to 50%, and then there's a cap that I don't have in front of me. Here are the other strategies, but all you have to do is contact Public Works. You can contract our PW counter at TCM Mail. You can contact Dimitri Copeland, dcopeland@tcmmail.org. Those are really the two that are championing this project for us. And there's a whole, FAQs attachment also based on kind of some of the questions you've been asked so far about funding and who hires the contractor and other things. So I think you see a hand up.
Yeah, Patty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering about condos, of course, because I live in a condo association, and we just had somebody come out to give us a bid on grinding some of the sidewalk problems. Thanks.
Yeah, you should definitely reach out to us. I don't know if we've had a condo type project in the past, but we just kind of work through the resolution that's passed and try to find a way to help you out. Definitely, I definitely think we can, contribute to what your fixes are, especially if you have some sort of report or whatnot from contractor or something about what they propose.
Excellent. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
So Patty should reach out directly to you, RJ.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect the dots with our staff member, Dimitri, who's really taken ownership of this program.
Okay. And while we're there, what's going on with Meadow Street? I know for years, I shouldn't say years, there's been a while they were supposed to do sidewalk improvements, all kinds of stuff on that street. What's going on with that, with Meadow Street?
Yeah, a couple things.
I'm sorry, Casa Buena, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm off the street.
Right. So, I'm sure Patty has heard this more than once. And Patty, we just updated our webpage with the PG&E gas information. So it is a real project. It wasn't something that we made up, but I guess I'm going to share screen one more time. So here, if you go to our town webpage and Google PG&E Community Gas Safety Project, this is information that we were able to obtain from PG&E because we wanted them to kind of be the owners of their own information. But here it's got a map showing their upcoming projects, and these are not small scale gas projects. These are transmissions. So these are really the main gas lines that serve not just Corte Madera, but all the way south to, Mill Valley and Sausalito. And so they're here, we've got 3 sections scheduled for 2023, 2024. And everything they're telling me is that they have a compliance deadline, which to me says that the California Public Utilities Commission is kind of holding them to a compliance deadline to meet safety guidelines. And so there's a good chance that they do hold that schedule. And so, yeah, please visit this webpage. And otherwise, we still have a Casa Buena Complete Streets project that's fully designed that we were prepared to build this summer, but we had to push off because we didn't want to build it just so PG&E could tear it up a year or two later. And that runs from the new Tesla dealership right near Canal all the way to Horse Hill along Casa Buena Drive. But separately of that, in that area, we are going to take advantage of this time to do our sanitary sewer upgrades for Casa Buena. So that project just went out to advertise here, I think last week. And so if you haven't got something in the mail, you'll get something soon. We'll build that this summer to get that component completed. And then we also have some additional sewer work on Meadow Street this summer as well to improve capacity for mainly the areas further west that send their effluent down through Meadow Street and eventually under Highway 101.
So RJ, that a project that was supposed to be this year, that now we're doing the sewers this year, it sounds like you can't do next year because that's when PG&E is, or maybe the following year.
Yeah, they're saying they've got two big gas transmission projects on Casa Buena for 2023 and 2024. So we're gung-ho for 2025 unless somehow that schedule changes. But we definitely don't want to push it further. We know it's a project that's been in the works for a long time and that has been committed. So
Mid-80s.
Is it?
And I also know that I remember speaking with PG&E. They told us those lines are 100 years old. So I can't argue with wanting to upgrade them. Thanks.
Yep.
And then on those, my eyes aren't as what they used to be. On the transmission lines, it looks like part of that runs under Warnham and then it goes down Tamil Vista, all the way down Madera, all the way down that way. So does that mean that PG&E in 23 and 24, I'll take Tamil Vista because that's the easy one where DMV is, and Warnham, they're going to be ripping up that street?
There is, yeah, I don't have all of the details of that in front of me, but they do have a project that goes through Tamil Vista that was recently paved, and it's definitely, I think, unfortunate, as I think all of us not just pay PG&E, but pay taxes to Corte Madera. I don't want to take shots. I just want to speak for our staff, and we definitely coordinate multiple years in advance all the projects we're doing, and leading up to Tamil Vista, that project has been talked about for, I want to say, 4 or 5 plus years, and we just didn't hear anything. And so it is unfortunate that it will get repaved to like new condition, but it's still disappointing as someone who has to pay taxes to both agencies.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. Does that mean that after they rip the street up, it'll be put back the way it was?
Yeah, generally, so we have a road moratorium policy. So if they can keep their work on one side of the street, they might just have to repave to the center line. But if they cross both sides of the street, then they might have to pave full width. So that's kind of a common practice, at least amongst marine agencies, to impose those types of requirements on roadways.
Yeah, I guess you have to expect the unexpected, and there's certain things that are under your control that you really can't do anything about. While we're on PG&E, is there anything going on with undergrounding wires anywhere in Corte Madera, PG&E doing any type of work or project like that?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that, and Todd, feel free to jump in.
And don't worry, Jamie, we'll get to you in a couple minutes.
I think it was around this time last year, we initiated an undergrounding district for two roads in Lower Christmas Tree Hill, Redwood Avenue, and Edison. And so That's kind of in the works. And then I think Todd's been working with the consultant on kind of a town-wide analysis of other kind of vulnerable areas with overhead power lines, and we're sharing that information with PG&E. So there's potential for additional funding. So we're having those conversations. And in addition, I'm also working on a local hazard mitigation plan update, which is really a county and Marin OES, the emergency services branch, on they're doing a local hazard mitigation plan, which has a kind of project list that allows you to go after additional FEMA funding. So we're kind of creating a wish list of other possible projects that could benefit, that or kind of mitigating its wildfires and whatnot. So one potentially is some improvements beyond just undergrounding on lower Christmas Tree Hill to, widen some roadways using retaining walls or improve all forms of access, on Christmas Tree Hill. So we're kind of starting that effort, and that's supposed to get formalized, I believe, in 2023, and it's kind of a multi-jurisdictional effort.
Okay, thanks. And then one last question for you, and then we'll go to Jamie. But again, if anybody has any questions, let me know. And RJ's not going anywhere. He still is going to hang around for a while, not super long, so don't worry. For the complete street projects, I know you were in Marin Estates. I think that's supposed to be finished in November because you're working on the street plan. What's the next couple neighborhoods, 2 or 3 neighborhoods that are going to be coming up for complete streets?
Yeah, so in addition to, everything that's going on in the Granada Marin Estates area, we were also, because we have that specialty contractor coming in to do what we're calling it, what's called a Cape Seal. It's a more robust version of a slurry in some places, but then other streets are getting a full pavement depending on the condition. We're also picking up some streets in Mariner Cove and in Meadow Creek and Meadow Ridge. Beyond that, we've initiated some design work on Christmas Tree Hill for the sewer work to kind of assess what's going on there and kind of queue that up in our system. I see some opportunities also in Madera Gardens of kind of taking this. We really get a big kind of bang for our buck, in my opinion, when we do these kind of neighborhood or geographic projects. You have a lot of work going on at one time, and it doesn't mean that we just blindly pave a road that's in good condition, but we might slurry seal one road that's in good condition, and right next to it a road that's in bad condition, we might do a full paving. But at the end, we're really kind of touching on all the key infrastructure issues with, our sewer facilities, pedestrian accessibility, pavement condition, improving, making minor drainage improvements kind of all at once. And then the idea is we walk away from these complete neighborhoods and, we might do a slurry seal in 5 or 7 years, but otherwise, they're good for 10 plus years. And we can kind of just march our way to other parts of town. And before too long, we'll have hit everyone.
There's a method to the madness, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you've done a really good job since you've come on board in Corte Madera about not doing things haphazardly, but actually planning things. Because again, in Marin Estates, you've gone through you've gone through and figured out, okay, we need to do the sewers, we need to do A, B, C, D, and E. And then when we're through it all that, let's look at the street improvements, whether that be for AD accessibility. And then after that, let's go ahead and pave or slurry seal. So you put together really thoughtful and well thought out plans. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to, I bet you a question comes up as people look at this PG&E map, because I know I had the question. It will show a line through Paloma Drive, which I know you're familiar with, but their plans in that area are like to kind of localize excavation as opposed to just going down the whole center line. So we are going to proceed with resurfacing Paloma this summer, but there might be 2 small areas where they have to do some digging, but it's not the whole right down the middle of the road type of project.
Okay, because if I can remember, there's another gas transmission line, right, that runs down that street, if I can remember.
Yep, and then I think it continues up and over a portion of Ring Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to raise your hands. Jamie, let's bring it over to you. Day-to-day maintenance in the town, what goes on with that? You know, how many crews do you have out working? You know, what kind of stuff do you see? I want to say summer maybe versus the winter. And then I know I'm getting a lot like, you know, on Old Redwood Highway across from the village, the bike path, there's a lot of weeds. It's just summertime and it's just growth. You can go through that for us.
Sure, thank you, Fred. Well, I like to start off with saying, you know, working with RJ and the team, it's been amazing. You know, we're continuous communication. We do have some challenges, but I am blessed to work with a great team. We have some guys with some great skill sets that allow us to accomplish a lot of things in a short amount of time. We do have some challenges, like I said. We just currently started, we typically start most of our projects in the springtime once winter has been completed, but lately we've been able to start a little bit earlier because of the drought season. So we just accomplished gate maintenance, which is our flood control. So it's a bunch of us going out, checking the pump stations, making sure our gates are good, clearing the bar screens, things like that. And then most recently, we just also finished playground maintenance, making sure our playgrounds are all safe for our kids. Unfortunately, we're challenged again with the drought situation, so we weren't able to pressure wash. But that's something we try to do every year. Continuous maintenance on the streets, parks. Currently, right now, we're working with weed abatement. So that's probably one question that a lot of people have is, when is my area going to be next? But we do have to take consideration that, you know, that's one thing that Corte Madera takes pride in is bird habitat and breeding season. So, you know, I explained to them that our main focus when it comes to weed abatement is the fire dangers first. And then after the breeding season ends, which is typically right around June, then we can start attacking a lot of the other areas throughout Corte Madera. I'm going to bring up the drought. The drought has brought up many challenges for us. Again, we're in continuous communication with RJ and trying to figure out the best solutions for some of our challenges. And SD2, you know, we're trying to avoid sanitary sewer overflow. So there's some devices and tools that we have currently that allow us to monitor our systems and find root intrusion. You know, with the drought situation, you know, there's lack of rain, so the trees are looking for water as much as possible. So that's one tool we're currently using right now with our team. Flood control, continuous work with making sure that our drains are cleared, because again, trees are looking for every opportunity. We're continuously working in parks to make sure our leaks are addressed. I currently can share with you guys, we have no leaks to date. We currently monitor all of our water meters to make sure that they're operating during current schedules. So we haven't found anything so far to date. I just got this update actually today. As for streets, we're still working with potholes, checking clearing brushes around signs, making sure we're changing the faded signs, clearing pathways along Christmas Tree Hill and stairways. And yeah, there's never a dull moment in public works.
Go ahead, Susie.
I don't think you guys have enough to do. Oh, just thank you. You know, it's really cool. RJ, it's been great to see everything going over here on the east side. This last year has seen tons of good stuff. And Jamie too, all everything you're doing. It's just really, it's pretty impressive. It really is. It's stuff that we thought, it's like, it's going to be a year from now. It's going to be 2 years from now. And all of a sudden we're there. And so
Yeah.
it's cool. It's
I would
great.
love to take the credit, but again,
Well-
it's our team. It's our team. Our guys, my group of guys that I work with every day.
Well,
They don't just come
yeah.
to work. They take pride in their work. So that's one thing that I'm blessed to have.
it's the whole team in this place. It's really pretty fabulous, you know?
Yeah. And again, recently we just the hanging baskets are up. So I don't know if you guys have seen the hanging baskets. So they're finally up. And one of our challenges was trying to figure out how to make sure they're watered.
Oh, yeah.
We've been working with the beautification committee. So we're currently under contract with Ongario to hand water them using recycled water. And then the 3 days that are allotted through MMWD, we use Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to use our drip system.
I guess we can open up for any other questions if looks like maybe Fred had a bad connection.
I think he's rejoining.
Oh, great.
We lost the mayor. He went down.
My computer shut down because it overheated. Sorry about that. Did you guys just keep going?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Susie.
It doesn't
Sorry if
have
I
to
missed
do-
anything.
It doesn't have to do with public works, but it has to do with, I was traveling for the last 3 weeks. I was on an airplane. I got the cold. I got exposed to COVID. I don't have COVID. But there's so much going on that's undercurrent with COVID. So, and I know that masks are recommended, and I just wondered if there anything to do with like the meetings or community center or any direction from the town that we should know about. I guess it's to Todd or the mayor.
Yeah, we are doing virtual. We're doing hybrid meetings for town council, planning. I'm not sure what Park and Rec did last night. So we're still doing Zoom meetings. You can still show up in person if you like. We have not had that many people though show up at least at town council meetings. We've had a couple here and there, and that's been about it. Rebecca, go ahead if you wanted to say something.
We did run the Parks and Rec Commission meeting last night as a Zoom hybrid meeting. We did not have any in-person attendees, but a good portion of the commissioners attended in person. Ashley and I were there in person. And for Parks and Recreation and Flood and our BPAC committees, it won't be a similar experience to planning commission meetings and town council meetings where you have a camera operator focusing on the mayor and then the speaker and then the town manager. I just have a one camera setup that I operate, and it gives the viewer at home the complete view of the room and the podium and the staff and the council dais, but it still allows anyone to participate remotely. We had virtual attendees, we just didn't have any in-person attendees, and most of us were wearing masks indoors.
And then, Rebecca, have you had any feedback from the Zoom meetings now that we've gone to that hybrid where again, the camera switches around sometimes?
No, just that people really enjoy still having the opportunity to participate in public meetings without having to come down and spend a couple hours of their night sitting in our council chambers, but they can just monitor the meeting, wait for the item they're interested in, and join and comment. And it's a real boon to our public participation. And most people that I've spoken with are just glad we're keeping it.
Thanks. I dropped off. I don't know where you left off, Jamie, or if you filled something in, don't worry about it. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. Just bringing everybody up to date, what we've accomplished so far, what we're working on. I actually didn't bring up, we're getting ready to prepare for 4th of July. Yay, excited about that. So we're working with BC, working with RJ, just getting ready to plan for the 4th of July. So we're still making it happen.
Okay. And you were talking about the drought. How's that affecting the parks? If we go to town park, like in 3 weeks from now, is everything going to be pretty much brown?
Actually, that's a great question. Currently, right now, it's not. We probably won't see that more of a challenge until midsummer. Our temperatures are getting up there right now, but we've got a good strategy right now. Vernon Santos and Odilon are working continuously trying to reprogram our irrigation system. So we've split up everything in 4 different areas. So that way we're still in compliance with MMWD's guidelines through the drought. So we're actually running more longer times in smaller zones rather than running shorter times in larger zones, so we can accomplish our water in an efficient way. So currently right now we're looking pretty good. But again, we'll probably see more of it challenging during the hotter and midsummer.
Okay. And then I think was it earlier this year that around Town Park and I think Neil Cummins, there were some trees that were removed. Pretty much, I believe they were dead. That's why they were removed. We had an arborist that came out. Is there any other places around town where, you know, an arborist has gone out and there could be potential tree removes? I think the same thing happened at Skunk Hollow, but I think there were eucalyptus trees that were removed.
Yes, again, working with RJ, trying to figure out the best solution on how to address our trees, you know, being stressed out due to the drought. So we're continuously working with arborists and following up with reports and any kind of information that we get, we follow up immediately and remove the trees as reported to us.
Okay.
And so I'll just jump in. Yeah, we've basically done, had arborists visit all of our parks and kind of high traffic areas in the last 12 months, if not sooner.
Okay. And then the marsh area across, I would say it's across from Nordstrom's, across from the village. That's Golden Gate Transit, correct? Or the Bridge District? Because I know, I haven't been out in there a while, but I know in past years, there's been dead trees out there also. I don't know if they've cleaned that up. They did a really good job with restoring the north end of the marsh and putting in a new path there. It looks really nice. They did a good job with that.
Go ahead, RJ. I think that's smart, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the area referencing with the recent project was Golden Gate Bridge District, and that's the kind of northern portion. There's, you know, the old railroad corridor, which is smart, and then actually to the south, California Department of Fish and Wildlife have a big chunk of land there. So,
Okay.
But yeah, if anyone sees anything, just let us know, and we'll get it to the right agency.
Okay, thanks. And Jamie, I was going to ask you, what kind of things around town can people report to Public Works? What kind of things do you guys respond to? I assume it's pretty much anything that would be on public property versus private property, right? Would be something along those lines. But what kind of stuff do people give you guys call on? Or can
on a typical day, it would be more like the weeds are getting high. Currently, right now, are getting high in our area. Field safety issues, concerns when it comes to sports facility fields. Right now, the fields are a little tough, or I should say, a little bit dried out, or not dried out, but a little bit less firm than they typically would be, just because of the water restrictions. So we're trying to maintain those, and we're working with Ashley when we get any kind of report. So, you know, what else? SD2, we get some calls in SD2. Right now we're getting ready to run a informational program on our trucks where we'll have some stickers and some magnets on our trucks that basically talk about no baby wipes down the drains and down the toilets, as well as grease or anything like that. So that'll help us with our SD2 issues. But typically it's just normal day is just weed clearing right now and signs being down maybe, but nothing really major.
which is a good thing.
Yes.
And we haven't had one in a while, but when we've had major storms, how do you guys gear up for that stuff? How do you prepare?
Continuous training. We make sure our mechanics has all of our equipment prepped for us, chainsaws, blowers. We make sure that our phone numbers are up to date, our contacts are up to date. Again, continuously training with chainsaws, blowers, techniques, road closures, communications with radios. Typically that'd be your average preparation.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a whole rotation with the staff to make sure that we have proper coverage, that meets, the weather system that we see coming in. So we're, fine tuning that as the information is updated. We have a whole policy and kind of some elevation set points for all of our flood control facilities and lagoons. So, we have what's called low winter mode. So when we expect a big summer, we're dropping those down to the lowest level so they can handle the most water. But there's a whole system. It's actually it's pretty involved. I think it took me a good year and a half, 2 years to really get a good handle on it. So, but yeah, we can speak in detail about any component you guys want.
Do you guys run, I want to say 24/7? So in other words, again, the storm is an easier one for me. If there's a major storm and I call, I guess, who would I call? If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I notice that, the storm drains are starting to back up and it's the, oh my God moment, it could be a flood. Do you guys run 24/7? And then couple that with, if I do call, just say during normal business hours, what kind of a response time could I expect? And not maybe storm related, but just in general.
Yeah. Something of note, we did just update our Public Works phone number directory. So if you give it a call, it'll actually ask you questions. Is it an urgent matter? Is it, obviously if it's an emergency, we want you to hang up and call 911 and they will very frequently dispatch calls back to us. So if you're ever not getting attention on an urgent matter, you can go that route. But depending on the selection and the issue you're talking about, it might route it to what we call our duty phone, which is the person who's on call for, basically 24/7 for that whole week. For things that are non-urgency, it might go to our customer service representative who likely is going to get back to you within the next 24 hours of a business day. So it kind of just depends on the urgency level. But yeah, during a heavy storm, we have crews running 24/7 and we kind of modify that to meet, when we think the event's going to hit the hardest and whatnot.
Right. And if I can remember, I think Central Marin also sends out crews during storms also, right? So you kind of work cooperate or not, you work together with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They will sometimes be the first ones on a scene if someone's seeing that a storm drain's clogged. They might even assist with removing the blockage until someone from Public Works gets there. And so it's a great teamwork that I've seen in my time here.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, just to add on that, it's being familiar with multiple agencies in Marin, I think, when we talk about public safety, people always think about police and fire, but Public Works maintenance is the third wing of that public safety component. And our team, it's a great question because when those storms come, there are days of preparation and then they're there 24/7, our staff working side by side with police and fire. And it's just, it's remarkable. And it's, I don't think they always get recognized for the work that they do, keeping our, community safe. So they are definitely, we consider them public safety and that's what they get paid to do.
They're kind of the unsung heroes because I've seen there's major storms and I've seen them driving around like, our neighborhood and other neighborhoods, just checking storm drains, and checking, see if there's any down branches and that kind of stuff. So you're right, they do a great job. And you're right, I think a lot of times people don't think of them. Just on any given day, how many from maintenance crews are out there working around Corte Madera, just on the average?
Currently 9. We have 9 guys on staff right now.
Okay.
But Todd's right, during the storm, there is a lot of preparation. Usually in the month of August or September, you'll see us out there with our sweeper clearing all of our storm drains and then clearing all the ditches up to like 20 feet. And there is a lot of preparation prior to storms. And it's nonstop during winter. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit challenging because of the drought, but yeah, with our staff and our team, they're, like I said, I keep saying I'm blessed because these guys take pride in their work and they work hard just to make sure our town is safe.
Thanks. I got a question for you, RJ, and then I'll have a question for you both, for the both of you, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. RJ, I think last year sometime, maybe a little longer, town council approved a climate assessment I don't want to say plan, but it was a climate change assessment throughout town. There's multiple projects out when there's some of them were super big and again required tons of funding. Others of them were on a smaller scale. And if I can remember, some of them could be integrated with ongoing projects. Can you just kind of tell us what's going on with that overall assessment and if you have been able to integrate some of that work into what you're working on as far as improvements around town?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there was some specific projects. There was kind of also a, library or so of policies and other smaller things that could be done. And we have advanced many of those. I mean, we've this Paradise Drive Complete Streets project was one of them that was listed as a short-term strategy. So was the undergrounding on Roadway Avenue in Edison. We have kind of some other projects within there that I think could come in the next couple of years. Some various evacuation type projects or strategic road widening to improve, evacuation routes. So it's definitely a good guide for us to use moving forward. And we're just kind of folding them in as we go as best we can. Before too long, we'll also kind of further the discussion about, the Bayside and whether that's, looking at, smart corridor and how to, protect the area near the malls or some of our other Bayside neighborhoods and kind of get that dialogue going.
Okay, thanks. I thought Patty had a hand raised, but she actually lowered it. And then the last thing is, you guys in your—
My hand is not lowered.
Oh, it isn't?
I think David had a hand raised and lowered it.
Where are you, David?
Patty's hand is still up.
Thank you. That's okay. Patty, you're good?
I had 3 quick questions.
Go ahead.
One was last night at the Rec Commission. They asked if there was a proactive plan to save the trees in light of the drought so that we wouldn't lose more trees. So that was a question for RJ. And then there is a dead tree on Casa Buena at the freeway that's been there for over 4 years. And I know it's Caltrans, but I don't think Caltrans is going to come cut it down. So I don't know about that. And then I wanted to know what year was the town hall built? Because I'm wondering, and this is something I had brought up before, if there's any wonderful little mementos stuck inside the walls or something that might be of historical value.
A couple of that, RJ, when you do, after Patty's question, just a couple, one with her on the last one. When that building does get torn down, are they kind of careful when they go through the walls to make sure that there's not like a treasure chest or anything like under there? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll know about it if we see something or if the crew sees something. So any Caltrans tree, even if it's theirs, by all means, send us a photo. I've got a pretty good working relationship with the Caltrans maintenance team, and they're usually pretty responsive. Positively, or just locate they'll provide the location, a photo, and I'll be sure they get into the right hands. I think what was the other question about?
Proactive to save more trees so we don't lose more trees.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging one. Obviously, we are limited on the number of days we can turn our irrigation on, and there's so many trees. There's not a real easy or effective or even mildly easy way to hand water them. There's so many. So really it'd be we'd have to look into variances and other things, because I think you'd have to turn the whole irrigation system on to really target those trees. But right now we're focusing on analyzing them, making sure that they're safe. So as we do find that trees are compromised, we're having arborists come out. So that's kind of the current plan. But I think that's an ongoing discussion that we're having internally. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Maybe we could do adopt a tree, and you bring your little bucket from MMWD And that's your tree that you're in charge of watering. And then everybody in town has their own little tree. And that's how we come together as a community.
I like it, Patty.
Yeah.
One other thing, you know, our building, the town hall was built in 1931, and in 1966, it was a firehouse, and then it morphed into the town hall as you know it now. So there are a few mementos. One of them is we had some dedications when there's a plaque that was out front of town hall that was dedicated, a dedication plaque out front. So we're going to keep that. There's a George Warman memorial, not memorial, but just the George Warman flagpole kind of plaque on one of the rocks, right? Out there. Yeah. So we're saving everything that we know, and we're going to find a way to celebrate that as we move forward. And again, there will be a kind of a historical library, you know, on the walls and throughout our new town center, our new town hall when it is built. And if you go to our temporary site now, thanks to Jonna Hale and the Corte Madera Library, we have a lot of the old historical photos up on the walls throughout. And so those are up as well. So it's kind of nice to walk down those hallways and see the history of the town. It's pretty remarkable.
Very good.
Thanks, Patty. We'll go to David and then Marla. Go ahead, David.
Okay, I know we're at the end of our complete streets. RJ, just a few of us are anxious to see details. So just a suggestion at tomorrow's meeting, why there isn't information for us to review about what the plan looks like. A lot of us are anxious to start digging into what complete streets looks like. Earlier, a lot of was addressed. I'm appreciative of some preliminary grass cutting in my neighborhood, Echo Avenue, to clear some high weeds in the walking paths, and look forward to getting past the bird nesting season to complete all that grass cutting. I saw some surveyors on that bike path, RJ. I think you know what I'm talking about. So that looks like that's progressing to complete that as a bike path. And I know we don't have time, but I'm curious why Harbor was lined with street with lane dividers and parking meter, a center divider. This just seems kind of different from the way Harbor, Marina Village and Marina Cove have been street marked over.
Thanks. Hey, RJ, can you address that and just let everybody, we don't have a hard stop at 6:30. We won't go till like 7:30 or anything like that. So if people have questions, please feel to chime in, but there's no hard stop at 6:30. Can you address the question regarding Harbor? Because we walk a lot and I noticed that, yellow line somewhat down the middle, and then it was white striped on both sides where people park.
Yeah, so I'll have to get back to you on the center line stripe, make sure that was kind of part of the plan, but there was a strategy to define the edge lines to, in some ways, narrow and traffic calm and slow down speeds on Harbor. So there was a whole kind of strategy to that, and I'll have to get back to you on the center line component. The complete streets project, Paradise Drive, the bulk of the meeting on Wednesday is going to be to spend time looking at all the alternatives. We'll do that as a group amongst everyone. And then also we're going to get into breakout rooms in smaller groups. That way everyone kind of is able to ask the questions they want and look at the components of that project they want. And even if we don't get everyone's feedback in that session, there'll be opportunities to provide feedback following the workshop. But that's just kind of common approach is to roll it out at the event. And then as far as Echo Avenue connector, we initiated the land surveying effort, and really we're going to focus on some kind of preliminary engineering, meaning kind of looking at the constraints, environmental and others, and also the right-of-way. That section of land is underlined by California Department of Fish and Wildlife parcel. So even though we have a flood easement, we don't necessarily have a public access easement. So really this calendar year is going to be pushing that forward to try to get the necessary permissions to build the facility we want.
And just to let everybody know, I'll get 1 minute, Marla, I'll get to you next, is that the project that David and RJ are talking about, if you go to the end of Echo, there's a small path that cuts at the end of that street in the cul-de-sac over to the bicycle path on San Clemente. So you're actually looking at paving that, correct, RJ, if all goes well, to make it a formal path. Right now, it's all hard gravel.
Right. And we were successful in getting a grant for, I think it was $175,000 to build that. So we'll be developing that in the coming years and potentially build that. I mean, most likely summer of 2024, if we don't have any holdups from the right-of-way side from California Department of Fish and Wildlife, maybe next year, but based on past experience, I don't expect that process to move as quickly as we'd like.
All right, thanks. Marla, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Sorry, my question is probably better posed to the county, but I can't get anybody to talk to me about the issue. We're having a horrific problem with coyotes. And I was attacked for the 3rd time last night walking my dog. There are probably upwards to 8. There are 2 that are continually going around. They charged us. I lost control of my dog. I face planted it. I broke my hand. This is a problem. It's just escalating. There's one that's very sick. They're very aggressive. They're menacing. They charge people coming in and getting out of their cars. My dog's on a leash. I'm walking. They charge. I've called the county. I've called Humane Society. I've called Fish and Game, and they all say coexist, which seems like a pretty lame excuse. One actually went so far as to say, stay in the house if you're having such an issue, which I think is a non-issue. I realize that this is a contracted function with the county and the county with the Humane Society. Fish and Game has informed me that they have no jurisdiction here. What are we supposed to do? I mean, somebody's really seriously going to get hurt, and it's just not us. It's just, this whole ridge, they're just marauding 24/7 right now. And I truly am. I'm afraid to step out of my house right now. So do you have any connections? Can you give me any help to not fall on deaf ears? The county supervisor doesn't even bother to return my phone call. So there you go.
Yeah, so Marla, I'm sorry that happened to you, and it's happened to a few. This is something that up and down the state, with the change in climate, and we've continued to grow and expand into certain areas, right? In California, Marin is no different. There's been a lot of more coyote sightings and interactions with the community. Dogs have been attacked. I mean, that's scary, walking your dog. I'll tell you that on the Central Marin Police Authority side, this was 7 years ago when I was the chief. It was one of our major complaints in the area. And so we actually held a community meeting, and it was Fish and Game. It is the lead agency with the Humane Society. And that's really what it turned into this educational component from them. And we have to learn how to cohabitate with the wildlife. And it was the most contentious meeting to date in my 28 years of government that I've actually sat through. After that, we continue to have just public discussions and trying to find, ways to help, everybody through this. And it's just really fallen on deaf ears. And so what I'm willing to do, since the cities and towns and county control the purse strings of the Humane Society, I'm happy to have a discussion next month at the Marin Managers meeting with the county and kind of bring this subject up and see if we can, nudge them a little bit to re-engage our community and see if we can, get some movement here. But I hear you. I know it's scary. And some of the examples provided by some other residents, I can't imagine being in that situation. So I'm happy to do my best to bring the discussion back to the forefront and see if we can, have some community discussion.
That would be wonderful, because there's a lot of kicking the can down the road. Fish and Game told me outright they had no jurisdiction. The party line with Humane Society is you need to coexist. I'm happy to coexist, but when an animal charges and knocks me over and knocks my dog over or knocks my neighbor over who's 6'5" and basically eats out the entrails of his dog that was getting out of the car, and they're saying, well, we can't do anything about it. I mean, this is turning into a real public safety issue. And, you know, I was told that if my dog got bitten, he would have to be quarantined. If they couldn't find the animal, they would put him down. I was told that I would have to get rabies shots if I were bitten, and I can't do rabies shots. I'm autoimmune. So that's not a good combo. And living inside of my house and being scared to death to go out my door it's just not working. And it's frightening. I mean, it took me 2 hours last night to calm down because they jump on me, and that's not coexisting. That's attacking. So anything you could do, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. I hope you get better soon. I hope it doesn't happen to you again.
It's only third time in 2 months.
Yeah, it just sounds like it's a really scary thing. And I get the whole thing about coexisting, but then there comes a time where it seems like it spills over into a public safety issue. Especially if you have residents that you're afraid to leave your house. You shouldn't be in that situation. So, okay, I don't see any hands raised.
Bingo.
I have
Thank you.
You're welcome. Last questions for RJ and also for Jamie, and then I'm just going to turn it over to Todd if he has any updates on his side. For the two of you, your crews and you guys are always helping residents in one way or another. I'm going to flip this around. What can residents do to help you guys or your team or your crews? Ooh, I got you stumped. There's dead silence. You weren't expecting that one, were you?
No. We appreciate, feedback and constructive feedback about things that are going on. Oftentimes we don't know an issue unless it's brought to our attention by the public. So we appreciate that. The only thing I would say is, know that we have a long list of things where, every day we get dozens of requests and we try to go through them as best we can. And sometimes, we can't address them all in the most timely manner, perhaps, or maybe there's one or two that are just a little bit trickier than require more time. So just be a little more, be patient, know that we're working on it. We're doing our best. And I think overall our team's, doing a pretty good job. So.
All right, thanks. What about you, Jamie?
I agree with RJ. It's the same. The only thing I would ask is maybe a little bit more constructive criticism. If they're not seeing something that we're doing, let us know. I think we're also working to better communicate throughout all of our teams. I don't feel like there's anything that, again, just maybe let us know if there's something we can do that much more to help, address the situation. But yeah, more like RJ said, be patient. We'll get to you when we can. Some of those questions are a little bit more challenging than others.
Okay, thanks. And RJ, you need same painting behind your office that Jamie has. You should have matching ones, or a little bit different, maybe.
Okay. Or maybe a different spirit animal.
And again, I really appreciate both your times for coming. I like these because they're informational. And again, it's the interaction with residents. Any questions or anything like that, stuff can get addressed. Plus, it's totally informative. And before we leave the meeting, Todd, do you have any updates for us on anything?
Yeah, I'm just seeing who's on the call. So I just want to touch on a couple things. So one of the things that we put into this upcoming budget, we had a kind of a budget workshop at the last council meeting. Moving forward, we're going to bring the full budget to the council for review at this upcoming meeting. And we put a couple placeholders in there that I just wanted to bring to the attention to Susie and Patty specifically. Susie, you've been talking about, some of the potential subsidies to help residents, when we make safety improvements and to help with some of the cost for the gas shutoff valves and other things. So I did put a placeholder within our safety and disaster preparedness area a placeholder to take something to the council moving forward as we work through the process with planning and building of how we can institute that. And also, Patty, the carbon monoxide alarm that regarding your email that you sent to us, there's some process things we need to work through, but one of the things, I put a placeholder in where we can fund it also. This would
Oh,
be
that'd be great.
on the sales tax measure side. One thing I want to do is I put a placeholder in. I'll share that with the council at the upcoming meeting, but I haven't vetted this completely with the sales tax oversight committee. And so I want to just make, Karen's on the call. I just want to spend some time with them of my process and my thought process and make sure that we're all in line, that would be the appropriate fund to support some of these, because these are safety measures, right? These are safety improvements. I just want to make sure that I'm in line with the sales tax oversight committee, but I have put a placeholder in it. I am working on it, and I hope within the next 60 days we could institute something once I go through the process with the committee and the council. The other one is Pat on the call? Let's see, Pat, you're still on the call, right? So we've been working with the Corte Madera Community Foundation on a couple projects. One of them is the Mankey Park kind of improvement project. That will be discussed. There'll be a presentation later to the council later in the year, but something that's a little bit closer to discussion is the community gardens and meeting kind of with the subcommittee group. Patty's part of that. We've kind of landed on an area over on the east side of Corte Madera over by Cove Park in the corner. We call it that Devil's Triangle, where it gets that overgrowth a lot of times and the maintenance team has to go and cut it down. We have a tentative agreement with the Corte Madera Larkspur School District to turn that into a community garden and kind of have a public-private partnership relationship over there. And so I've asked Patty and her team to just bring an informational item, a presentation to council. It's not for approval. It's not a popularity contest. It's not competing with any other capital improvement projects, but it's just, let's put it on the radar. Let's talk about it. These are some things that we're working on. And it's a much smaller scale type of project. So I think between the foundation and the town, it's low-lying fruit. I think we could get something passed and move forward. But Patty, I was looking at this June 21st meeting, and I think potentially we may have to move it to July 19th. We're going to cancel the July 5th meeting. July 19th might be the best meeting to have that presentation. On June 21st, we just have some priority items coming to council, and I'd like to keep that meeting less than 4.5 hours. So setting you up for success, bringing presentations to the council, but I'll talk to you offline over the next couple of days and just confirm that, because I know that you want to send emails out to everybody and keep them updated.
I think you kept saying Patty, but I think you mean Pat, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Patty. Yeah, I'm sorry, Pat. So, Pat. And then one other thing, I just want to share this. Do I still have Marla on the call? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna just share my screen real quick. You know what? Here we go again. I'm not able to share it. Okay.
You can't share? I gave you co-host permissions. Oh, is it your laptop again?
Yeah.
Is it something you can send me?
Yes. Let's do that. So I just want to share, I'm really proud of this. I shared it at the council meeting, and I think there's some people on this call that are part of this, and I want to share with the community some of the good work that we're doing in our public partner, our public-private partnerships, but also the volunteerism of our community. Okay. All right. I just sent it over to you, Rebecca. But basically what I took, we had a conversation about equity and, at the last council meeting, and I want to share again, it's kind of a follow-up to our discussion last year in 2021 when we did our communications plan, and we talked about how can we communicate better, but like also we need to establish our mission statement and our values. Can you, can you blow that up? Yeah, zoom it. So really what we wanted to do is establish our mission statement and values, right? Our way of life as a city, as a town, both staff-wise, council, all of our boards and commissions in the community, where we're in line with everything that we do.
Is that too much?
No, it's small on mine. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, you're good.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. And so what we did recently is we kind of went back through thinking about equity, thinking about the definitions of justice, equity, diversity, and really applying it to our town. And we updated our mission statement and values. Really, we changed a couple words. And so I was pretty proud of that because I feel like it's not a zero-sum game, right? We've been working on this as a staff for years. We just call it something different. And one of the things that came in on the equity side was, subsidies. What do we do for our community? There were some people in the community and even on the council felt like we haven't been doing anything. And so what I did is we put together, Daria and I put together this chart. And what we're really trying to show is just how we've approached from each department. So I color coded this of how we've approached, equity and subsidies in our community. So I went back to fiscal year 1920. And then I went all the way forward to this upcoming fiscal year. And so just to start off on the disaster preparedness and Central Marin fire grants. So one of the things on that conversation, for 20 years, we never enforced our ordinances. And then we educated. And then at some point, in time, a few years back, we said, okay, enough with education. We've updated our ordinances. We're going to enforce. And that didn't feel right. And we said, look, we need to help our community get their vegetation management to a level where they can manage it moving forward. So let's pay to help our residents get in compliance and then keep them there. And so one of the things that we did, and it actually went back to fiscal year 18-19, but we brought in Marla Orth. And so this was pre-consolidation with Larkspur and the formation of Central Marin Fire Authority. And we did the chipper program, but we also did a whole bunch of other things, subsidies and grants for residents. If you go back, from fiscal year 1920 and move all the way forward, 1.7 million in subsidies and grants and work. In those two fiscal years, for fiscal year 1920 and fiscal year 2021, that's all Marla Orth. She did that with her programs, and really remarkable. Moving down into the green, the yellow bus program, after school program grants. There's, I believe 30 to 40 families that need assistance in after school programs. And so the town of Corte Madera is going to help subsidize that through the school district and help those families. The voucher grants and various programs throughout the years, 25,000, senior and youth programs, over 100,000. The Marin Pirate Swim Program. This is something Patty brought to our, Patty and Pat Ravazio brought this to us last year. Marin Pirate Swim Program helps those underprivileged families, provides them an opportunity to have swim programs. And so they needed a subsidy in fiscal year 21-22, and they need another one in 22-23. And so we're committing just under $25,000 to make sure those programs happen for our Corte Madera families. And then also staffing for senior and youth programs. Can you scroll down a little bit? So this touches now on the public works maintenance and engineering side in the gray. So I tie the sanitary district that's part of the town. It's a subsidiary of the town. And so it's the same philosophy as we had with the fire department. We're like, look, first, let's think about sidewalks. We're doing all these capital improvement projects. Sidewalks are owned by residents, but people in our community, right? Like everywhere, just like me, you might have a nice house, but you live in a nice area, but who has $6,000, $10,000 just to go and improve your sidewalk? So we're like, let's do an analysis. RJ and his team, broke the town into quadrants, they evaluated all the sidewalks, and now they're working closely with our neighborhood groups to replace those sidewalks. If you look at what's happened over the last couple of fiscal years and moving forward, $400,000 is dedicated to that. Same philosophy on the sewer lateral process. So when we're doing capital improvement projects and paving our roads, first we're going to get with the utilities. Some are better than others, but we talk to them years in advance. Hey, when are you doing the improvements? Let's tie our projects to your projects. Let's improve the sewer lines underneath. Let's help our residents through a number of different programs. There's 5 listed here. And let's help improve those again, and then hold the resident accountable for maintaining them moving forward. $1.7 million in these areas. If you move down to the yellow, the Community Homeless Fund, case management services, and the Casa Buena Home Key Project. So if you look at homelessness in just from a numbers perspective in the town of Corte Madera, our numbers are extremely low. But our council and our staff is taking the approach to say, look, we want to do our part. We want to help those countywide, because we don't, if we all partner together, we're positioned best for success. And so over the last couple fiscal years, we provided $83,000 to the mobile shower program, to case management services, and voucher programs and other key grant opportunities. The Casa Buena Home Key project, the mayor, through the mayor's request, we've set aside $15,000 to help those residents, so to participate in potential park and rec programs moving forward. One of the things that we're starting to engage at both the staff, the town manager level, and the council level is countywide with, look, as we move forward now, we've done our part helping countywide and participating in programs, but we have a Casa Buena Home Key project, and moving forward 3 years out, we want to ensure that those services that are being provided today are being provided in the future. And so you'll see a lot of public discussion, both internally and externally, about this. And so more to come on that. And please, if you have any thoughts, I'll probably be reaching out to many of you to get your opinion and your sense and some recommendations moving forward. But this is going to be a big one for us moving forward. If you scroll down a little bit more, Rebecca, so if you go to the blue area, this is really, I combined some of the fiscal years, because this is really through COVID. And so we did 4 key things through COVID. The first one was countywide. Again, we participated in a countywide kind of in helping those who are in need of legal aid and mediation services, really on the rent side, to if they needed rental assistance, if they were evicted, these services would provide protection and legal aid services to those families. The other one was food, so community grants. There's a lot of just case-by-case issues that came up over the last couple fiscal years. Thanksgiving, where 30 families didn't have money to have food for Thanksgiving. And so we provided a lot of food grants, community grants to those families in need. We also, through the school district, to keep it confidential, but we provided to a number of their families as well to support them through the holidays. Community grants, so rent, specific to our residents. We gave $156,000 in community rent grants. We work specifically with a lot of our stakeholders in the community to help those in need. The reason why it's $156,110 is because that is 100% of the request. If we would have got another $156,000 in request, the council would have doubled that number. So anyone that needed help, we provided assistance with what they needed. The last one is the community grants for small businesses. This was really our small business owners. Again, they did get a lot of help federally and statewide, but we also wanted to help them through some of those scary times where there are a lot of unknowns. We wanted to bridge the gap, $195,000 in general fund monies. This total over this, if you look at this 4-year window, is about $4.3 million. And again, you can stop sharing now, Rebecca. But again, it's not to say that, hey, look at us, Corte Madera, we're doing everything we should. My point is, when we think about equity, we think about our community. That's what we do as a staff. That's what we do as a council. That's what we do as a community, right? If an issue comes up, we put our heads together and we try to help and problem solve. So I think we've done some good work. Now that we have this, we want to build it moving forward. Hey, are we doing enough? Can we do more? Can we afford to do more? Should it be more specific? But if you think about every department, that's our mentality. Rebecca and the admin team does a great job, and Public Works, as you can see on the engineering and maintenance side, they're very thoughtful in their approach, and it's not normal in government. We try to approach our service delivery as a business. We provide the service that our community asked of us, and we follow the vision of our council. And I think this is just one of example. I didn't know what to expect when I did the spreadsheet. But I think it's a good start, and I think it's a good story that I definitely want our community to know. We're not perfect, but a lot of great work. And a lot of people on this call, you're part of this because you actually were the visionaries of, hey, why aren't we doing this? We have these monies, why aren't we doing this? And is kind of like an aha for staff, right? Why aren't we? Let's see if we can. And so a lot of this was born from those of you on this call, and I just wanted to celebrate that with all of you.
Thanks. Pat has her hand, not Patty, but Pat has her hand raised.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Pat.
Hi, just you can call me Pat, you can call me Patty, just call me, okay? I just wanted to thank Todd for all of his work on the swim program, but I want to really clarify that the initiative here was to give the community, the whole community, an opportunity to go swim at an affordable price. I mean, just looking into it, if you want to join the Bay Club with your family and swim at Ross Valley, it's going to set you back close to $300 a month. So the Redwood program run by the Tamalpais Union High School District should be really working to help all of the community find access to not just swim lessons, but swim fun. I went last year many, many times, and there were families there who were absolutely tickled, could not believe that they could come and swim. And just so there, even though it's a lap pool, there is kind of a shallow end, and there was water aerobics. So some of you have any older residents on the call, there were many women, mostly women, some men, doing water aerobics. So I really encourage the community to not only look into the program, but to push a little bit. I'm having a hard time, and Todd, maybe you can give me some answers here. I'm having a hard time getting any answers out of the school district as to what they're committing to in terms of time for the community next year. So would love to hear about that.
Yes, I appreciate that, Pat. So just real quick, it is continuing this year. It's going to start. They'll actually have more hours, and it'll be sustained. They'll be able to program it out, because we're able to I met with Warren and the school district last month. And so we basically leveraged our partnership to get them to yes and to give us the time. So we have the time. It is for all, the Central Marin area. So all ages, it'll be available. One of the things I did is I leveraged, because I wanted to focus on those that on a financial factor, right? We're using public funds. And I said, look, I think my council will subsidize Corte Madera families that can't afford to do this or are in need. Let's give grants. And so I said, how much money would you need to do that, and where we can track it? And so we did that. And then by diverting those funds and supporting the program that way for those families, they now can have normal hours throughout the week and weekend throughout, the next 6 months. And so then that is access to everyone within the Central Marin. I wish our other community partners would have our same philosophy, but they didn't. But the good news is the school district's committed to it, and you should see that schedule coming out. It should be out, but it'll definitely be out in the next few weeks. I know Warren's working on it now.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everything you're doing, Todd. And RJ and Fred, all of you guys. Thank you. I agree. I reiterate what Susie Beatty said. It is just really wonderful to see all the great stuff going on. And I'm looking forward to seeing that Taco Bell on the corner of Willow Drive and Tamalpais come down and be replaced by a real town hall.
Not a Burger King, right? Or McDonald's.
No, it's got that Taco Bell architecture, that rounded thing. So looking forward to it very much. Thank you all.
Thanks, Pat. And with that, if there's no other comments, we'll wrap up. But I just want to say, I think this is what makes our town great. You got Pat that chimed in saying, hey, why can't we do something for the swim program? Susie's going, hey, can we subsidize safety type programs? Patty's going carbon monoxide devices for seniors. We got the Corte Madera Community Foundation trying to do stuff with Mickey Park. Lions are doing stuff. It's not just town staff. I think it's the engagement of our entire community. And not only that, but staff is listening and trying to figure out how do we get this stuff done. And I really appreciate RJ, again, you and Jamie being on this call tonight. Again, you guys, unsung heroes. You guys are, not you personally, but you and your teams are just doing tremendous work. So I appreciate that. So with that, if nobody has any, Pat, is your hand still raised? Or she just forgot to she put it down. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's raised? No? Okay, all right. So with that, again, I appreciate everybody's time. Try to stay cool tonight because again, it's hot, like super hot. And again, we do these every month, fourth Tuesdays. So again, look forward to the one coming up in June. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
And
Thank you.
Marla, try to stay safe and watch out for the coyotes.
Thanks, guys. Bye.